God of War 2018 is a simple, phenomenal game. Continuing on from the original Kratos God of War games, it was no exception that this game was going to be an absolute masterpiece once it released. And the game pretty much exceeded our expectations, becoming Game of the Year of 2018, and of course got Christopher Judge his first proper Game of the Year award ever.
Red boy.
Fast forward several years later and it's one of the best games ever created. And in all honesty, if you hate this game, you probably look like this. I really think the developers took the big ballsy route of actually making Kratos the father and actually giving him more of a fleshed out storyline in comparison to what we saw in God of War 1, 2 and 3. They turned Kratos into a ragey Spartan all the way into a really deep hearted father, which is very nice to see that kind of character arc evolve. His relationship with Atreus is by far the most important in the game. And I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the best father-son relationships I've ever seen in any type of video game. The way Kratos casually trolls Atreus and trying to teach him his ways is absolutely hilarious, and I love that kind of comedy spoof in this game. I think it's definitely where it really shines. Big boy Kratos is obviously just saying, yeah, you trash, kid. But in all honesty, this is where the father and son relationship truly shines in this game. Kratos and Atreus are just as iconic as pretty much as Ellie and Joel was in The Last of Us. I love that Kratos is more of like a caring father now in comparison to a raging Spartan, and he actually wants the best for Atreus rather than just making his life a misery, and also is going to protect him from certain threats like Chris Hemsworth's brother. What the fuck? Oh yeah, Baldur, that's his name, yeah, Baldur. Baldur wants to come inside, but of course Kratos isn't letting that slide, and of course he pulls the reverse Uno card on his ass right here and now. After Kratos absolutely bashes Baldur's brains in, we get to one of the best fights of the game, and it's pretty much the first form of combat that we get in God of War. And my god, what a goddamn fight scene this is!
How incredibly disappointing! Come on then!
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Besides being a more story-driven tale, I feel like the combat in this game is actually really good than what most people give it credit for. Yes, it's not going to be like Batman Arkham kind of gameplay, but it's up there with some quietly decent gameplay that I've seen. And of course, traversing through multiple different beautiful landscapes just makes this game you want to play through even more than what you did when you first started playing it. The landscapes in this game are truly breathtaking, and this design of it is truly something else. Especially when you've got every single part of the world looking relatively different, I think it gives the game a lot more obscurity and more immersive elements to it, rather than just going into one place and making it look exactly the same all the time. I gotta talk about how great the Leviathan axe is, because this thing is literally Thor's hammer on steroids. The more you upgrade the axe, the more powerful it will get to actually attack the enemies you want, and it definitely comes in handy throughout most parts of the game where the enemies do get a lot tougher and you may have to bust out your rage saxophone dance against them, because you know the enemies do get incredibly hard, especially going up towards the 6 Valkyries you have to defeat at the end of the game. And that can also be said with your armour. There's a ton of armour upgrades in this game, some of them that are absolutely overpowered as hell, and some of them that give you some relatively upper hands in combat. And that's one thing I absolutely love about God of War, is the endless customization you can make to Kratos and Atreus. The boss fights can be described as a crusty part of the pizza and a good part of the pizza, if you catch my gist. One boss fight you may be fighting a really nice epic monster, the next you'll be fighting some fat looking Thor twins, and the next you'll just be fighting some whatever the fuck that is.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Despite some of the flaws I kinda had with some of the boss fights being hard as fuck and some of them just being a little bit too easy, I mean the boss fights are pretty much undeniably incredible nonetheless, despite some of their little issues that they do have, and some of them are aesthetically pleasing to even play against, especially with the monster kind of boss fights as well. I think this is what makes that game separate from other games like it, such as Monster Hunter or any of the Souls games. I've yet to still platinum God of War, but all I can say is the world is absolutely massive, and this is probably the reason why I didn't go back and get the other remaining trophies, because I knew it was going to take absolutely forever to go around and get every single version of the quests, complete the bosses and do all the other miscellaneous stuff there is to do in this game. But however, I actually may go down and go back to this game a little bit and see what happens, and maybe possibly platinum it on live stream. So subscribe if you guys want to see that. But honestly, I'm really loving this game at the moment, but recently I just played it again and it's definitely up there with some of the best games of all time. One major side quest I really couldn't be arsed with in this game was collecting the flying green crows. I mean, there's a few in every level, or around 9 I think you have to get in each kind of level or the part of the world you need to get. And honestly, trying to find these little fuckers is like one big pain in the ass. You can also complete multiple quests for certain types of people, which I found relatively fun. I mean, you can come across different types of people like you do in the GTA side missions, and it's a little bit different on doing certain side quests for them and bringing back, etc, whatever. I gotta say that Mimir is probably one of the best comic relief characters in this game, because he just talks so much bollocks, as well as just being some kind of Scottish guy on your asshole. He actually does help out quite a lot in the story. As you progress through the game, he also tells multiple stories about his past, and it's actually really riveting to hear. Without Mimir, we wouldn't really have gotten to the end of the game with the finding the giants in the Greece, but actually we wouldn't even have seen any parts of the other game either, as he is pretty much our main tour guide throughout majority of the game. Around 50 to 60% of the game is mostly about Mimir. And you really gotta appreciate the Spartan rage that Kratos has as his main power up. This is probably one of the most fun things to do in this game. Just ramage a bunch of enemies, punching and kicking them in the face is probably the best way to just deal with all the enemies in this game, eventually once your rage meter hits that big old bar. Seriously, the amount of times I died because I didn't have enough health for boss fights was pretty fucking a piss take. If any of you decide to play God of War, I highly recommend trying to get all 3 of the apples. That way you can level up your health pretty much at the start of the game, and pretty much get a head start against all your other opponents, and it'll make the fighting combat much easier, especially when you're going through the harder enemies, and especially coming towards the first set of bosses. And I really just gotta talk about the ending to this game, because, oh man, that view was different, man. Like, oh, I couldn't have asked for a better ending. As Kratos and Atreus release the ashes of Atreus' mother, we eventually cut to the end credits of this beautiful, masterful game. And all I can say is Santa Monica did a phenomenal job on this game, and they've probably done a phenomenal job on God of War Ragnarok, but I've not even played that yet, so that'll be another video. When I first played God of War about 3 years ago, I was in absolute awe of how great this game actually was. It wasn't just a typical hack and slash like the previous God of War games, but it had a really in-depth, thrilling story to tell alongside that, as well as a vast open world that you can explore, which the other God of War games did not have. With finding some memorable characters along the way, and to upgrading your characters and armour, I think this is probably the best God of War game to have ever lived, alongside Ragnarok, because, you know, I still haven't played it, as I keep saying. But, however, God of War 2018 is a masterpiece, and will be a masterpiece for years to come. And with Father's Day around the corner, why not just jump in this with your dad? I mean, it's a very good Father's Day game, and if you get this for your dad, you're pretty much a big G. I mean, that's all I can really say. But anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, give it yourself a like down below, and also make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are so goddamn close to 2,000 subscribers. I'm probably going to hit it tomorrow by the time this video goes up. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.